The views and opinions expressed by the guest author or speaker during this live session are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views of Reader's Magnet. The content shared is for informational purposes only and does not constitute endorsement or promotion of any particular belief, ideology, or product.
Hello, authors, book lovers, and storytellers. Welcome to the RM Hive. You're tuning into Reader's Magnet's featured author interview. I'm Brittany, and today I have the pleasure of speaking with Renaii West, author of the intriguing mystery novel Murder at the
Mhm.
Aphrodisia. Set against the backdrop of secrets, friendship, and a haunting tragedy that stretches across decades. This novel revisits a night that changed everything for the goddesses of Parnassus Canyon University. Right, Renee? So,
Right.
Renee, thank you so much for joining us today. We're excited to dive right into the story behind your book and your journey as a writer. So, Renee, if you want to introduce yourself for a little bit.
Okay, thank you. I am Renaii West. I am the author of Murder at the Aphrodisia, plus my two other books, the award-winning Death by Chaos and The Wrong Side of the Flame. All, I think, fun mysteries, fun, cozy mysteries.
All right. So, Renee, for those who are just discovering your work, can you tell us what Murder at the Aphrodisia is all about?
Okay. Well, I like to point out that it is somewhat of a sequel to the first book, Death by Chaos. The same characters in here appear in Murder at the Aphrodisia. Um, and it's and the tagline for Murder at the Aphrodisia is the goddesses are back and so is the chaos. The original chaos in the first book haunted them for over 20 years. And it finally got resolved, and they thought everything was done and they could go back to their very charmed life. Well, what's going to happen, of course, is they're getting together. They're celebrating at this new beach house. They're having a wonderful party. And Chaos has decided to invite himself or herself or itself.
Mm.
Chaos was not invited, but Chaos shows up.
All right. So, the novel revisits events that happened 30 years earlier and uncovers truths that remained hidden for decades, Renee.
That's
So,
right.
what or who inspired you to write this story? And as you've mentioned, this is a sequel, I believe.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
my the first one, the characters, I've
Mm-hmm.
always been intrigued by Greek mythology. And my favorite myth is the Apple of Discord, where the four goddesses create such, they're not getting along, their competition, their rivalry creates one of the biggest chaoses in mythology, and that's the Trojan War. And I don't know, I was just kind of inspired at the time. Like I've always felt like embrace your inner goddess. And I was just thinking, what would the
Nice.
modern versions of these goddesses be? And what would happen if they actually got along? If they kind of created a bond? And that was one inspiration. My other inspiration was my own college experience. I found it fascinating going to college and being randomly put in a dorm or a room with somebody that, under normal circumstances, you would never cross paths with. They
All
have
right.
a different schedule, they are having a different major. You would never have any classes together. And I witnessed some friendships that are still going on today, some of the friends I've had,
Mm-hmm.
and I never had a class with any of them. But it was just the continuous slumber party at a dorm that you
That
just
sounds
sort of
really
created
nice.
this friendship. And I thought, I'm going to take these four women that are very unique, very
Mhm.
different, have different goals. They come from different backgrounds, and they're going to be randomly thrown together as roommates. And I did know some, I didn't have this experience, but I did know some who honestly were roommates from freshman year to senior year.
Mhm.
They just bonded and got along so well. And what were the odds? And so that was my inspiration, original inspiration, was to create these interesting female characters meeting in a college setting. And I wanted them to because they're goddesses,
Yes.
everything seems to be going well in their life. People might envy them, but they like them. And they all seem to, what I sort of say, they rule different parts of the campus, different social,
Live a perfect life.
perfect life.
Yeah.
And then something goes wrong their senior year. And how does that affect their friendship? How does it affect them? And one goddess is very haunted because of the secrets she has kept. She knows a lot more than she ever revealed. And there are
Mhm.
reasons why she's kept those secrets. And so it was fun to write the first one with finally the revelations coming out. And now is 10 years later and originally I was happy with where they were at that point in their life.
Mhm.
I was leaving them alone. But enough people asked me about them and have asked, are you going to write about them? What are they going to be like when they're a little bit older? And I just began to think that I really like these. I really love these four ladies.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to visit them again. And so that's what I decided to do. And I was thinking, okay, 10 years later, they're a little bit more mature. They have recovered from what has happened before. But what happens again? And how do they handle it differently now that they're a little older, a little wiser?
Yeah, that they've went through many things in
Mhm.
life, maybe separately or together as a group. Yeah.
All of the above, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if I we can pop it on the screen. There is a comment right here, Renee. I see a comment here by Bob Montgomery. He's asking, based on the title, Aphrodisia, does this novel have spicy parts?
It does.
It does.
You know what? It's not porn. Okay, let me get that out. But people have
Yeah.
asked me, I'm very careful because I am a parent. I was a middle school
Yeah.
teacher. I'm very sensitive to, what is PG and what is R rated.
Mhm, mhm.
And when asked, is this a good teen novel or a good young adult? I say no, although I think there are kids who are mature enough that wouldn't be offended. But they
Yeah.
do use saucy language. There is some, how should we say, affectionate that is displayed. And maybe not everybody's always as ethical as they could be.
Ah, I
So,
see.
you know, so there are some spicy, but again, there, but again,
Which brings me to the next question I have for you, Renee. Mystery and suspense readers have so many books to choose from. It's
Mhm.
actually a thing now, right? Like
Oh
true
yeah.
crime and stuff. But what do you think differentiates Murder at the Aphrodisia from other books?
Well, one, I add a lot of humor. A lot of my characters
Right.
they're smart Alex. And especially they have known each other for years. So they can get away with saying a lot of things to each other.
Mm-hmm.
They can roll their eyes with each other or whatever. And, and
I
there's
mean, yeah,
men
they're
involved in
friends.
their lives and the men are kind of used to this. And so I think there's kind of a lot of humor. I also try to make it fast paced, but not so fast paced you get confused. But I try not to have boring spots. And I really try to focus on the pace. And so I like to think of it that it's a fun, breezy read. And also, none of my characters are detectives or
All
in the
right.
police force. And so half the fun for me and the most challenging part is how is it that they end up in these mystery situations? And how is it
Ah, I see.
that they get so involved that they can help resolve things? And I don't always like to rely on stupid cops or corrupt cops. There has to be a reason. And, I try to, as I said, I try to make the characters fun. Um, Friends of mine have said there's a lot of dialogue in it. And so I kind of, if I sort of am inspired. If you ever seen an old Cary Grant and Rosalind Russell, where they're just the lines are
Yeah.
coming off at each other. So I
Yeah.
try to get little bit of that going. Oh.
I see another question from the comments from the viewers, Renaii. Someone is asking, the name is Rix Luz. If Murder at Aphrodisia had a theme song, what would it be?
Oh my God! Oh, that's a
Have you?
good question.
Yeah.
Oh,
I got curious myself.
okay. One, I mean, and I'm going to use I'm going to use a controversial word. Okay,
Right.
right off the bat, there's an Elton John called "The Bitch Is Back."
Well, it's an
Okay,
Elton
that's
John
one of
song.
them. And let's see, other song.
Nice.
I,
I actually like your answer.
I like that one.
Yeah.
That's a good one. And did I? Oh, I would say, for some reason, I like also Pink Floyd, "Comfortably Numb,"
Pink
and
Floyd.
just because that song always puts me in like kind of a mood, and that's what their weekend was supposed to start off like. I'll give that much away. It's
Though,
supposed to
like
be
in
a
the story.
beautiful, they're on
All
the
right.
beach, they're in this beautiful house, they're
All
together.
right.
And so it was supposed to be just a great weekend. And then
Something
who
happened.
comes back? Yeah.
Yeah. So, speaking of the characters, Renee, your character seemed layered and emotionally connected to the past, right? Like
Mhm.
that's what came back to them. So when you created your characters, do you draw inspiration from real people or are they entirely fictional?
A little of both. First of all, they were inspired from the Greek goddesses themselves,
Yes.
but I did take characteristics and traits from people I have met. I mean,
Mhm.
I have known and been jealous of women who I say they won the genetic lottery. They came out
I
beautiful.
agree.
They're intelligent. They always seem so calm and collected, and never anything ever ruffles them. I
Basically
know.
like goddesses.
Yes, I have known. I can think of a few in college and beyond that were just amazing actresses. They
Mhm.
just had talent, and they were larger than life. They were fun at a party. You knew, I know it sounds very cliche on Dateline, but they always brighten up a room. Well, I'm not sure if brighten was the right word, but when they entered.
The atmosphere changes.
Oh yeah, and
Yeah. I love
women
people like that.
and I know women who are just naturally maternal and kind. And they're the ones that can diffuse a tense situation. They have that gift. And then I've also, again, sort of know the trouble, not the troublemaker, but what we would call the
Mhm.
social justice warrior. When I first wrote Death by Chaos, I was not familiar
Mhm.
with that term, but that's a term. Somebody that
What was it again? Justice warrior?
social justice warrior.
Social justice warrior.
Trying to make the world a better place,
Mhm.
fighting for the underdog. And I've known people that take up those fights. But again, I morphed. I don't think anybody would totally read the book and say, "Hey, that's totally me." I didn't do that. I had fun changing them around, but I thought of them, and when I wrote that, and so it was fun.
I see a comment here by the viewers, Renee. It's from Reginald McBride. How do you come up with names for your characters and places?
Oh, that's half the fun. I mean, my big regret with only having 2 kids is I only could name 2 kids. I love coming up with names.
Like you have a list?
No, it's when I start creating. It's when
All
I
right.
start creating and, um, well, can I give away one of my character and how I came up with her name? The one
Y-
the one
Yes.
that's the one that's the queen, Hera. I just
Hera.
pictured her so perfect, and I there's many ways of being beautiful and perfect. But I made her a blue-eyed blonde, you know,
Blue-eyed blonde.
whose mother was a Rose Bowl queen. You know that, and came from a rich house. I mean, everything about this woman, she's had a lot of luck in life, and I just pictured her. She couldn't have a crazy name, and she couldn't have a modern name because she was classic. She was just so classic. So that's where I gave her Elizabeth. I gave the name to her Elizabeth because I just felt she was classic. And
All right.
so that's kind of and then when I thought of like the men's name, like this guy's really handsome. What guy have I known before that was kind of fun and handsome? Yeah, that
Like
guy.
a
Yeah.
handsome name.
And, there's a few Easter eggs in there that I don't, unless you really are familiar with West Side Story. I've taken some of the names, like there's a Tony in there because my first love was Tony Mordenti, who was one of the
Oh,
actors in West Side Story.
yes.
You know, and somebody has the last name of Winters because David Winters, who's also an actor. So there's a few Easter eggs in there as far as names. Yeah.
Ooh.
So,
Speaking of, you mentioned the name Elizabeth.
yes.
There is a viewer here with the name Elizabeth Pearson.
Wow.
She's asking, yeah, did any characters surprise you by acting differently than you planned?
Yes, I think all writers can say that you start off with the plan, at least I do. I
Uh-huh.
have a basic outline in my head, but as I'm writing, or I type. I know some
Yeah.
people still use the yellow big notebook. I type. All while I'm doing it, all of a sudden, this dialogue, especially if I'm writing dialogue, the dialogue between two or three character
Mhm.
takes me in a different direction, and I like it. And so, yeah, some of them do surprise me, and I have to stop and think, is this genuine? And I'm thinking, yes, it is, because it seemed very organic where I'm taking. I also, when I first do an outline in my head, it's almost like it's very boring, if that makes sense. And so
At
my
first.
characters really aren't that developed. And so by creating them, and I don't just turn in a first draft. I mean,
Yeah, of course.
my stories go through 3 rewrites.
All
And so
right.
as I'm writing, I get better, and then I might in the second one delete or add more. So
Well, that's part of the beautiful process of writing.
it
Speaking
is.
of characters, of all the characters in the novel, Renee, which one do you resonate with the most and
The
why?
one I love the most is Tasha.
Tasha.
She's the actress of the group, and she's much more beautiful, saucy, and outrageous, gutsy than I will ever be. I mean, I
All
would
right.
in my next life, I would love to, be Tasha.
All right.
Tasha is maybe based on some reviewers and some people who've read, not always the most likable. She's not a bad person, but she's very self-absorbed.
Ooh.
And
Okay.
she's really a caring person, but
Mhm.
she is a little saucy. She is ambitious. And I don't want to stereotype, but she was the theater arts major.
I see. They call it the theater kid.
Yeah.
That's what I usually hear. A theater kid.
She was a, yeah, so she's definitely, I think, the most fun. Now, of course, all of my women in there are, I find, absolutely beautiful. And I did create them all beautiful. I did in different ways. They all look different. They have different shapes. They have different personalities, different ambitious. So I wouldn't mind being any one of them, but Tasha to me is the sauciest. And
She's the one who stands out the most to you.
yeah,
So
she's the
speaking
most
of,
outrageous. And there are
yeah,
jokes made about that, yeah, throughout the book. Yeah. Yeah.
about her as
About
a
Tasha, yeah.
character, her
Yeah.
personality.
Yeah.
So also I have this question, Renee. As a writer, every writer has a different process when it comes to doing it. Are you a meticulous planner who maps everything out? like the whole plot, especially in a mystery? Or do you prefer to let the story evolve as you write?
I
You've
need to
mentioned, yeah.
I need to have an outline because I have to decide what the mystery is going to be.
Mhm.
Why and how did it happen? And then who was involved? And then I very much want it to be realistic.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm not
definitely.
gory, but by that, it has to be, my characters just can't open a door and there are 7 clues right in front of them. There, there has to be a reason why they get so involved. And there has to be a reason why they come across um, evidence and information that somehow eluded the professionals. And
Yeah.
so I want all the pieces to make sense. And I'm not criticizing anybody else, but even TV movies, I've kind of gone, no,
Yeah, like a
that's too
plot
much luck.
hole.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
know
like a
there's a lot
plot
of
hole.
luck in solving things, but I felt like that's just way too much luck. Or I don't fully understand the motive here. So I have to figure that out, and that's the hardest part. And in that. So
Yeah,
and then once I kind of get it, and it can change. Murder After Aphrodisia. Uh, I made some as I was writing it. All of a sudden, no, this person's not so guilty. This person's going to be guilty. I made changes along the way, but I could do that because I had a general path to go down.
speaking of that, you set out a path for them. There's a viewer right now. I think I've mentioned her a while ago. She has another question. The name
Okay.
is Rix Luz. She's asking Renaii if how do you keep track of all the secrets and timelines?
You got to take. I have to take notes. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm typing this way, but I keep a little 3-ring binder notebook that I kind of keep notes about, like, make sure
The
to double
whole
check
thing.
this, or yeah, or this happened. And then I will also say, I'm going to say one thing about why you have somebody read your text before you
Mhm,
publish it. I don't know how I made this mistake, but in one of my books, well, it's the first one,
mhm.
I had somebody age 8 years in a 10-year period. I don't know how I missed that, but
Oh.
they found that for me. And it was like, oh my God, I am so glad, you know. And in another book, my second one, the death of the person is described twice. And because I kept changing the timeline on what year, basically, I was going to do the COVID years, then I decided I didn't want to mess with COVID. You know,
Yeah.
but I forgot to change the date in one of the chapters. So he died on 2 different dates. And
Oh.
somebody caught that for me.
Well, at least it got
And
changed.
so I would say I do take notes about,
Mhm.
and I a lot of times I have to go back and reread things. And, like, who said what, who was the person that said what, who was the person that found that. I do have to review, but taking notes. And I've also, well, sometimes with my folder, have like section. This is timeline, then another section
Mhm.
is secrets, and then characters. I will a lot of times write characters and how old they are and
All
where they
right.
were from, so I don't mess that up.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
good. Well, so do you do you have another answer? Because I'm about to ask you, Renee, what do you find to be the most challenging aspect of the whole writing process, and how do you overcome it? Like maybe you have another way aside
No,
from
no,
writing it all down in a note in
for
notes.
me, it's coming up what I would say a realistic mystery.
A
I
realistic
think if
mystery.
I chose to do love stories where boy meets
Mhm.
girl, girl, and they break up and they get back together, I'm not knocking romantic writers, but I think I would have an easier time. For
Yeah.
me, is creating a realistic mystery. And again, who did what and why did they do it? How did they get away
Mhm.
with it at that point? Why are my characters there or so involved? And so that's the hardest part for me. is just coming up with that, with the basic story. And then even when I come up with that, the muse, she's fickle. Sometimes she's there with me and sometimes she's not. And
The
sometimes
the
when I have the
muse,
time, pardon me,
the muse. Did
the
I
muse,
hear
you know,
that
the
right?
first, the inspiration.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, Sometimes I sit down, I got all day to write, and that muse is taking a holiday somewhere. She's not with me. And so what I write is just pure crap that day. But
Oh,
fortunately, she comes she comes back and I get it better.
you just polish it, I believe.
I polish it. It's like, oh, thank you, you're here. Or every once in a while, I'm driving and I get this great idea and I'm going, oh my God, I'm driving. I can't write it down. So I start saying it out loud to myself. So when I get home,
Have you tried, like, you're driving, so you just get your phone and then you record it on a
I
voice memo?
I have tried that too, and sometimes I do
Yeah.
that as well. So yeah, and so but anyway, the
So
hardest part again is just coming up with a decent plot, or a
yeah,
plot that my readers aren't going to go, oh God, that's so stupid. Yeah, yeah. I want them to at least think it's realistic. Yeah.
yeah.
Mhm.
And on the flip side, Renee, what has been the most rewarding part of being an author?
You know, the creativity, it is
Yeah,
fun.
the
Um,
freedom.
I it's just fun creating stories. It's
Mhm.
fun. I mean, it's fun going to the book fairs. It's fun talking to people. And this may sound weird, but I kind of am creating characters that I like. I'm creating conversation that I like. Um,
Yes.
I'm creating a world. I joke that this house, if you could see it on the front of the cover, I
Yeah,
told people, I
the
said,
yeah,
that's
that
my
one.
dream house. If I
Right on
can't
the book
live in
cover.
it in real life, I at least can live in it in my book, you know?
Yeah.
So
Okay.
yeah, it's just, and it's been fun meeting other writers. But no, I think anybody that's creative gets a sense, whether you dance, I also do ballroom dancing. So whether
Ooh,
you make movies, whether you write songs, there is a sense they're your babies.
yes.
They're your
Because they
baby.
you created it.
And it is sad, very satisfying, and it is exciting for me. All three books, the first time I got my own copy was just
Mhm.
really exciting. And and I know with future books I'll be just as excited to see them. And it's fun because I also have a say in the covers and other things like that. So I think when you're a creative person, you need to create. And I've always been a creative person.
With
So,
speaking of being a creative person, I believe you've been a writer for a long time now, Renee.
well, I have I wrote a lot as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
And I was into poetry as a kid and stuff. I remember in junior high, I'm not sure why, but I actually wrote my first mystery, like a
Oh, you
20-minute
started
play, which
there.
our class put on. And I'm not even sure why I wrote a mystery, but I must have liked them back then. And then what really got me going, I was lucky enough to become the drama teacher in a creative and performing arts program.
Mm.
I had it was a magnet program at the school, the middle school, and I also did
Mhm.
a lot of work with the high school. The best way to put it is I would have 30, I was a popular teacher. I had 30 kids in my class. And most of the rehearsal for the end of the semester production was rehearsing during that school hour. Now,
Oh, okay.
if all of us been to middle school, you know, if you don't
Yeah.
give middle school kids something to do, they'll find something. So I couldn't do a play
Yes.
with just 5 kids and let the other 25 just sit around. I mean that mm. And then
Chaos.
so I could not find plays that could accommodate them. So one time I just got the idea, I'll write my own. And that's what I began to do. And I could, if I had the kids that were really good, talented, and I knew they could handle a lot of lines, I wrote them big parts. I wrote a bunch of small parts for the other kids who wanted to have fun, but didn't really
Yeah.
want to put that much time. Um, I would have occasionally in middle school, you get the kid that is talented, but is a loose cannon.
I
And
lose.
a loose cannon. He's a wild
Oh, okay.
child. He may or may, and I'm thinking of one, he may or may not memorize lines. He'll be, he can improvise, he'll be fun. So I created a special character for him where he really,
Could do that.
nobody had to do dialogue with him
Yeah.
because I knew he would do it differently every time. It was sort of, and so I found that, and I found that very satisfying. But I started that off out of necessity, and
Out of
so
necessity.
yeah.
Renee, what's one thing you wish you would have known then when you first started writing?
One, I wish I had come to where I am now earlier. I wish I had started earlier. I hate to say it was insecurity. It was not knowing what to do. Um, I will say this: I want to give a shout out to what I would call the self-publishing industry now. And
Yeah.
I tell my friends or people who say to me, I want to write a book. And I would say, there's different paths to getting it published. But I said, the self publishing, there are so many people that will help you get that job done. And I'm going to give a
Yeah.
shout out to Reader's Magnet, the shout out to publicity and getting my, starting to work with them. I got more readers.
Yeah.
And if I had known I would have this help, I think I would have started earlier. But it was like, okay, if I write a book, then what? And as weird as this may sound, I really didn't want to go around and bug people,
Bug.
especially my friends. And a lot of times when I do give like my books, I give a signed copy to my friends. I will always say, no
You
pressure to read it.
okay.
And especially
Yeah.
not now. I just
Mhm.
putting it out there in the universe. And most of them will read it, but they'll read it under their time. You know what I mean? When they have time.
Mhm.
I don't want to be that, you know, I'm sure you've known somebody that sold Tupperware that was always bugging you to buy Tupperware, and you saw her coming, you would avoid her.
Uh,
And so I didn't want to be that person. But if I knew how, that there would be artists that could do the covers for me, if there are people
yeah.
who would be editors for me and would catch the fact that I had somebody age 8 years in a 10-year period, I would have started sooner. So I guess if I have any advice to anybody, I say get started.
As
There's
soon as
help, there's
possible.
support
Yeah.
out there for you.
So Renee, we're about to wrap up. Can
Okay.
you give us a sneak peek if you have any upcoming projects or what are you currently working on or planning?
Okay. I think
Anything?
I'm sort of alternating. This was my first one, and I'm
Yes.
revisiting them later. Then I created a whole new set of characters that were fun. Bridget
Ooh.
LaFlame and her group of friends, sort of quirky Renaissance
So
performers, not related
which
to
one
this book.
comes first?
Okay.
Are they a trilogy or is that one different?
These are related. These
All
two.
right.
First
And
one,
the
sequel.
all right, yeah, they're a sequel, and then the other one is a different story.
Yes, and I'm the one I'm thinking of now will be a sequel to this. I will
Oh, I
be revisiting
see.
these
That's
characters.
great.
Yeah.
Can you mention the titles of the books? Wait, that
Okay.
one is
This one is The Wrong Side of the Flame.
Flame. Yeah, the wrong
And-
side of the flame, everybody.
Okay. And then Death by Chaos. As you can
Mhm.
see, chaos is a constant theme in these poor goddesses' lives,
Mhm.
you know.
And then the sequel.
And that sequel. And then with Wrong Side of the Flame, she's a little bit more inspired by Bridget, the fire goddess, the Celtic fire goddess.
Celtic fire goddess.
So whereas I like to have like a house is a character in the third book, fire is somewhat of a character in this story. So
It's nice. I actually want to read that one. So,
Again, again, I find them, they're smart alecky, they're fun, and yeah. So I think if one thing they have in common is definitely is a group of friends.
yeah, like a friend group.
Definitely a friend group.
Yeah. You just made me miss my friends, my college friends. Anyway, Renee, where can our watchers, our viewers right now find Murder at the Aphrodisia? Where are they available?
Uh, um, on Amazon and Barnes and Noble, and the Reader Magnets
Reader's Magnet
bookstore
bookstore.
as well.
Yes.
And I do have a website, very easy, www.renaeiwest.com. But
All
Renee
right.
is spelled differently, Renaii.
Yes.
On Instagram, no, X, used to be called
X.
Twitter, at,
Yes.
at Renee W. And I'm also on Instagram and Facebook as well. And you have any questions? My Gmail is Renaii West at gmail.com.
All right. So, everybody, you heard Renee. Her books are available on Amazon and in Barnes& and Noble and at the Reader's Magnet
Yeah,
bookstore. So, Renee, thank you so much for joining us today. I loved listening to you
I
about
love
the whole
talking with
thing.
you.
Yeah, I really had a good time. It's been wonderful learning about the sequel and the other book. So, everybody, thank you so much for tuning in, especially to Renee. Thank you so much. Oh, again, be sure to check out Murder at the Aphrodisia by Renaii West on
Thank you.
Amazon, Barnes& and Noble, and the Reader's Magnet bookstore. This has been Brittany, and as we say here at Reader's Magnet, we share your story with the world. See you, everybody. Thank you,
Bye.
Renee.
Good.